All right, well, welcome everyone. We're excited to have you here with me today. Excited to have this as just a great experience to talk through about employee communications and tools and ideas of how to engage. I'd love today to be as interactive as possible. I really like not doing kind of traditional type webinars, but as interactive as possible. So if you have questions and things, please throw those into chat. I'll take a look at that as we go along. But let me introduce you into, really this space and what we'll be talking about today. And that's really, as we look at what's gone on, of course, everybody knows nobody needs needs insight or to be told that there's been a big change in the world. But of course, there's been a massive tectonic shift that's been exacerbated by COVID. But even before that, we've got 5 generations in the workforce, and we've got this new gig workforce and an experience economy, and now so many people are working from home. How do we communicate with them effectively? That's one of the biggest struggles that I hear from HR and people leaders every single day is, man, we've lost that ability to really get the insights, the anecdotal insights that we used to have by just communicating with people more often. And so we feel out of touch with our people and we're not sure what's happening. And of course, as the news of the Great Resignation and everything else is going on, organizations are really struggling to attract and retain their people right now. And the question always comes down to why. And if you're looking at why, what are those things? Obviously, what I've always loved to say is that, look, you can't fix what you don't understand. And so what you really need is the way to know and understand what's happening in the mindsets and the beliefs of your people, because it's those mindsets and their beliefs that are driving their behaviors. So if they're leaving your organization, well, you need to truly understand why. And frankly, exit interviews are somewhat helpful. Sometimes people are honest and open enough to provide those, but they're in many cases pretty limited to where they don't feel comfortable truly sharing that experience that they've had and the true reasons of why they're leaving. So again, it's limited insights, and then we're trying to make choices and decisions based on limited insights. That's where things become really, really tough, is how do we get the insights we need? Because I've always believed that fixing problems is easy once you understand them. Right? Once you understand what's really happening within the organization, then it's easy to try to address those problems. Finding solutions is the easy part once you really understand it. But unfortunately, in organizations, so often we don't have a good enough level of insight. And so it's almost like we're throwing darts at the dartboard, hoping that something will stick. And I don't mean that just flippantly. That's really how it feels a lot of times, where we take actions. They may be based on our anecdotal insights or the limited insights that we have, but then those objectives or those initiatives don't really make an impact or a difference because, bottom line, we addressed or we solved the wrong problem, or it wasn't the problem that actually was the problem, but we just didn't understand it. So that's one of the biggest thing that we at Olumo have tried to do, is we've tried to change and throw out that whole traditional process, because we absolutely believe that in order to grow your organizations, that people and culture is your most strategic move. And there's a couple great quotes here, and if you'd like a copy of this presentation, I can send it to you afterwards. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in here today because we're going to dive into the actual platform. But I love this story, and I don't know if you guys have been seeing what's going on with UKG. But Aaron has done such a fantastic job over there at UKG. And when he took over as CEO years ago, he really recognized that, look, in order to attract and retain top talent, we have to create a workplace that people want to be part of. We've got to create a place that people enjoy, right? And we all know that. We need to create a workplace and a culture to do that. But that doesn't happen overnight. It's taken him years. In fact, I think he took over as CEO in 2005. They didn't win their first award until like 2014. But what he's done is he's stayed committed to incrementally learning and understanding piece by piece and gathering more and better people data and communicating and delivering systems and technologies to try to create all that within the organization. And now they are frankly just crushing it. What I loved was this bottom quote that he has here where, look, we did this not because I wanted Kronos to be nice to people, which of course he did, but because he was convinced that focusing on people and culture was the soundest possible business strategy. And that has proved out so amazing for him. You can read his book, Work Inspired. If you haven't read that, please go download it and read and listen to it. And he describes the process that he went through of how to build that. But bottom line, it all comes back to data and insights and some of the things that you need to learn, because we all know the benefits of attracting talent and certainly retaining our talent. Those are the two number one things that I hear from organizations right now is we're struggling to attract people to get them to come here. And number two, we're struggling to retain them. And with the Great Resignation going on, of course, these are huge topics for people. And that's what we're going to focus on today is how do we address this? Well, I believe that creating people and culture is certainly a journey. And I like to talk about this journey because a lot of organizations, it's like, hey, what's the quick fix? How are we going to fix our culture problem? And they act like it's something they can just boom do, and it's one or two things and boom, we have it. What I believe is the culture is a journey, and it's an incremental process to learn and understand what's going on within your organization, be able to address the issues that you have, and be able to iterate through that process. Well, if we want the business, right, it all comes down to business results, and the business has to achieve what it needs to achieve. And that's what everything has to drive to. As people leaders, if we're not connected to the outcomes and the results that the business is working to achieve, then our alignment to the organizational focus and purpose, that's misguided, right? And so we need to align with that to help the organization achieve its business results. And the most amazing thing is that we're actually probably in the best position in the entire company as HR and people leaders to impact those results. That's because, again, it goes back to our people's behaviors. Their mindsets and their beliefs drive their actions, drive the things that they do, and what they do creates our results. So I share with organizations all the time that, look, if you want better results, you got to focus on your people and understand what's driving those. Because if I'm not engaged and I'm not connected with your organization, I'm just going through the motions. I'm not driving your business results. I'm coasting over here. Where if you can get me engaged, that's where your business can really thrive. And that's where Aaron and his organization at UKG, they're just thriving because they have so many people just driving, so actively engaged in helping the organization to grow that now they built this. It's like he rolled the stone off the top of the hill, and now that thing is just spinning and whipping, and they're crushing things as they move along. That's what we're looking to do. So to get those results, we've got to create an engaged workforce that's highly engaged in achieving our objectives. But in order to do that, you have to create the human experience at work, right? You have to engage your people. Well, engagement comes from, hey, I love the team I'm on. I love the manager I'm with. I love the benefits we have. It's everything, right? So how do you measure everything and identify everything? Well, that's where we've got to get this data that we need to be able to accomplish this. Because again, solving problems is easy once you understand them. Then we take an action plan. And then of course, we want to measure our success. But how do you get the human data that you need then? If you look at the data you have today, ask yourself right now, what data do I have today surrounding the mindsets and beliefs of my people? And for most organizations, that's little to none. Because what we typically have when we talk about people data is we have the results. We have the percentages of this ethnicity versus that one. We have the percentages of women versus men. We have all these percentages and end results of the outcomes of the statistical data But what do we have surrounding their mindsets and beliefs, their sentiment, how they feel? Do you have any metrics that track and measure that within your organization? And the answer for most companies is no, because the traditional way of gathering these has always been through surveys. Well, I personally think that probably the most ineffective business process that exists, really old school, of course, because one of the problems is timing. Like, look at timing. You send out a survey, well, it's a single moment in time. You get feedback on one day at one moment of how people felt. Well, that comes from about their last 72 hours of their experience with your company. And it's really difficult. And if you think about it, wow, do we really want to make choices and decisions based on one teeny solitary sliver in time? The other is that because of that, then usually we're 3 months later looking back to the last survey or something that we've done. Well, it's rearward thinking because we're always going back to, oh, well, what did we ask? Well, guess what? All that's changed. By the time you look back at it again, it's changed. Most are delivered through surveys, which are terribly ineffective. And that's where I see people. I talked to a company the other day. They had like a 3% response rate. They have thousands of employees. 3% responded. They're like, how are we supposed to make choices and decisions based on that minimal of input? But the thing that I struggle with the most with surveys is, of course, just they're one-sided. I don't have the ability to respond and engage, to listen and actually learn. And so oftentimes what happens is we go through this massive process. By the time, if you're lucky enough to get there and then do focus groups because you didn't learn enough in a survey, so you got to go do a focus group. Bottom line, they're just a terrible process, and that's why your employees are so frustrated with them. I was talking to my brother-in-law the other day. He's like, oh yeah, our company just sent out our annual engagement survey. He says, nobody even wants to participate. And he said, it's because we keep saying the same things and nothing ever changes. So why would we waste our time? Right? So that's the feeling. So it actually is creating disengagement, just the opposite of what their goals and what they were hoping to accomplish. So that's why we're here today. We have created a better way to help connect you to your employees, to help you get the data and the insights that you need to drive your decision-making, to deliver your business results. And that's what I'm so excited to share with you today. We call it our LEAP process, where we help organizations to listen to their people, actively listen. I'll share with how we do that. Then to engage with them, because you create engagement by engaging your people. And then to take action. The key to all of this, of course, is taking action and then being able to measure our progress. What worked and what didn't. Well, you can't move the needle if you don't have a needle. If you don't have a way to measure the impact, then how do you know if anything you're doing even matters? And that's where we're going to show you how we can help you to do that today. So the first thing I want to share with you is how we help you to listen to your people. And what that means is that what we found is that frankly, the only tool that really works. Now, we can do Slack or Teams or a lot of different ways. So if your company is involved in those and heavy users, that works too. But what I frankly have found the most effective is literally these devices, because everybody has it. They always have it with them. They're always communicating. So what we did is we send out and we engage your people in questions every single week. Once a week, we ask them a question about their experience that they're having with your organization at work. Those questions were developed by organizational psychologists that helped us to identify the key aspects of the human experience, right? This is an experience economy. What are the experiences that your employees are having with your organization? I need to know those. I need to know what good experiences they're having, what bad experiences they're having. What are we doing? What are the gaps, right? What are we doing well that we need to do more of? And what are the gaps where we need to address and fill those gaps and solve problems? Well, if it's my organization, I want to know what those are today. I don't want to know about them once a quarter. once every 6 months, once a year. I want to know what's happening in the organization today. And this is what I'm seeing is that organizations that are using traditional methodologies of listening are missing the opportunities to drive innovation and change throughout the organization because they have such, frankly, they just don't have a system of gathering real-time insight. And that's why Olumo is the very first human sentiment analytics platform, where we help you to understand the thoughts and the feelings of your people in real time. Because about a fifth of your organization, if we're asking them all in a week, about a fifth every single day is getting asked a question. And those questions then they're responding to, and then we're quantifying or translating their responses into actual data, measurable data, so that we can watch and see the trends. Hey, we took these actions. Look, we're making improvement now and we can see it in the data. Let's do more of those actions. Or, hey, we took those actions and actually it had a negative effect. What's going on? That's what we're able to do. So let me highlight just a couple key points here. One is like, for example, a lot of people are struggling with, hey, how do we measure and quantify the well-being of our people? What we should be doing in there. It's a huge one on the list of organizations today. Well, we have a well-being campaign. That's the campaign that's being shown here, where we measure their psychological safety, their work-life balance. Do they feel emotionally connected? Resilience is another metric within that campaign. We measure all of those things and then give you hard data by team, by department, by location. You can stack rank and see, oh, we're struggling in these areas with these teams and these places. It immediately identifies what's going right and what's going wrong so that you know through data exactly where to focus your efforts. That's the number one thing that I hear from our clients is, wow, now I know exactly where I should be spending my time and focusing my efforts. So we ask a couple different types of questions. One question is just literally a scale-based. Hey, on a scale of 1 to 5, tell me about your experience, how would you rate your work-life balance? I'll use one off the well-being campaign here. Then the next type of questions that we ask are questions that are designed, and those create these metrics, the live visual metrics, right? So I can quantify what they say into data and numbers, and then deliver to you dashboards like this. Look at this real time. I love this dashboard because immediately I'm seeing, hey, look, Department 50 is crushing it on their new hire processes because that's part of our new hire campaign. And I can see that they're just crushing it. They've got almost perfect marks from their people. But Department 55 in the same company has terrible marks, right? We have an issue. They're coming into this team right out of the gate and struggling through our onboarding processes. So what are the gaps there? So what this immediately does for you is identifies, here's all your teams, stack ranked, hey, top performing, lowest performing in teams, and all these different areas that you have the option to turn on, as well as create any of your own custom campaigns. Because I love to share with organizations, look, the human experience exists everywhere, and we can help you to understand it because we can measure and track anything. Like companies have your company values. Well, how do you know whether there's alignment to those? Well, I can create a value. For example, we can measure trust throughout the organization, organizational trust. Help me understand what that means to you and your organization. We'll create a metric and I can tell you throughout the organization exactly measure that 365 days a year for you and help you to see all the actions and the initiatives and the things that you're working on. Are they making an impact? Are they making a difference? And we can see it in the data. What I love is that the data is predictive analytics. These are predictive indicators because what we help you to do is we have a team of strategic advisors that works closely with you. But what I'm really looking to do is help you connect and identify the key predictive indicators in our data that then drive those business results. So for example, customer service, right? Your organization, you need to increase and improve your customer success and your customer service and your NPS, your net promoter scores. Well, guess what? We can show you and prove to you that there's a direct connection between the engagement and key metrics that I track here, that my metrics are predictive indicators of those metrics. So if you want to drive your customer experience, you need to drive the employee experience, and I can identify for you the key metrics, and we will watch and track and show that they're in exact alignment. It's amazing to see, and that's what we help you to do. Because again, it's all about driving those business results. But in order to do it, we want to get to the mindsets and the beliefs of your people that help us to do that. Okay, so sorry, I'm getting a little long-winded. I get all excited about this. So this, I love this because it shows me exactly where I need to focus my efforts. And I love the statement that's on the screen too, because it says, look, the language of business is numbers. And the one thing, look, finance, accounting, they've all had it easy. They walk into the executive meetings, they've got all these data and charts and quantifiable data. Well, guess what? Now it's time for people and HR and people leaders to have the same thing. We have now the ability to allow you to walk into that meeting with physical hard metrics, not just sentiment or, hey, I feel like we're doing better or we're doing better in these areas. No, hard data, because that's what will help you to get the objectives and the things that you're trying to do when it comes to people and culture. You want to get approval for those things? Well, you need to prove the business case. And the way to prove the business case is in hard data. And we can help you to quantify those things that have been so difficult to quantify in the past. So this can set you up to look like the hero when you walk into that executive meeting, because now you'll have the data and the insight that's driving those ultimate business results. But the magic of our whole platform, this is like the magic moment. The magic of the whole platform is the fact that we actually create conversations, not surveys. Meaning that, yes, we ask your people about their experience, but then our other questions are designed as conversation starters. And it's designed to help us to have a interactive, live, back and forth communication with your people to listen and to learn about their experience. So imagine this. You receive a text, no app, no nothing, right? We send it just as a text so that there's nothing for them to install or do or to cause a friction. You receive a text. Tell me about the experience you're having with this. I respond to it. You can see it right here. Here's an example of this. What's the one thing that you would recommend to most improve your job? And this individual came back and said communication. Well, what are you going to do with that? What does that mean? More, less, better? You know, what does that mean? And that's typically what you get on a traditional survey, is limited insights. But what we then have the ability to do, and it's people, we don't do this through AI. And I know you're thinking, whoa, how do you do this then? But literally, we have a trained set of staff that works very closely so that you don't have to do the heavy lifting. You can just get all the benefits of the platform, but we literally engage in human-to-human, anonymous conversations to listen and learn about their experience at work. That is the ultimate power, because it's that listening, continuous, active, real-time listening. That listening is what drives the insights that you need to take the right actions. When you have the ability to dive deeper into what's going on, instead of just communication, well, we responded with, hey, thanks for responding. What does that mean to you? And they start coming back with, hey, yeah, it's frequency and follow through. For example, if I have a question about this, this is what I'm struggling with. And they start these conversations with us, telling us exactly what you need to do to solve their problems. It's not rocket science. This is people science. But you need those conversations to listen and understand, ask qualifying questions to help us really understand what's happening with their experience. And that's what drives the organization. Because then I hand all of this data to you. Now you're ready and prepared to take action because you understand what the problems are. Well, it's easy to solve some of those things. You know, hey, if it's communication and we've got this little issue, hey, Boom, let's work with our teams, roll out some new ways of doing this communication, solve that problem. So what we take you from is these large initiatives that you try to move the needle in some way to lots of little simple, easy fixes, knocking down and knocking off the rough edges throughout the organization like that every single day. We're gathering insights and feedback that are simple and easy for you to address. And then we're looking for trends in the data about consistency and things that we need to address at a larger level throughout the organization. But individual teams are learning and understanding where the hiccups are and what's going on. That's how you create engagement, by engaging your people, listening and learning. What I hear from the people within the organizations that are using the platform is, wow, I feel listened to, I feel heard. I can tell that the organization cares. Those are the types of comments that we're hearing from your people once you start engaging. So it's absolutely, it would blow you. I have so many stories, but I don't want to, I'll digress and go somewhere else. I'm happy to jump on another call with you individually and talk more about it. But anyways, this is the key. It's now taking that and actioning it, because people don't get tired of providing feedback. What they get tired of is when, and where that disconnect, like what I mentioned with my brother-in-law, is that the disconnect comes in that, hey, I provide feedback and nothing happens or nothing changes. So if you can connect feedback to action quickly, I love this study by O.C. Tanner where they show, hey, there's an 804% probability that they'll feel like the organization is great at listening if you can take action on something within 30 days. And that's what we help. Our analytics advisors help you identify as you first launch the platform. Man, let's find something easy. I don't care if it's different toilet paper in the bathroom, whatever it may be. Let's find something easy that we can take really quick action. Because if we can demonstrate that we listened, based on feedback, we took action, then guess what? Then we have enormous engagement rates. One of our clients, and you can look this up on our on Olumo's YouTube page. You can look at the testimony. We just finished it with a company called Big Leap. They're seeing like 90-something% participation of their people in the platform because they're so good at taking action, immediate intentional action, and connecting action to feedback. And so that's where I say, well, look, instead of the 3 or 4% annual engagement survey, we can create an environment and a culture of co-creating solutions and working together to drive the organization to its objectives. If that's what you're looking for, then you need a systematic way to consistently, not do this once a year, not do it once a quarter, but to continuously engage with your people in driving the organization forward, listening and learning about their experience and improving along and iterating along the way. It's not rocket science, it's people science. And that's what our platform helps you to do. And then, of course, one of the greatest things is now it's all about measuring progress. How do we learn and then watch and measure the impact? Okay, well, we took these actions. Did it work? Are we moving the needle? Well, of course, you can't move the needle if you don't have a needle. And so that's what this will help you to do, is identify within the organization where those gaps are so that you can take action. Okay, so with that, I'm going to just hop into the platform itself because I want to just show you the platform today, show you live. This is a client of ours, company called Big Leap. As I mentioned, they're a digital marketing company. Here's their percentage rate. Today it's at 92%. They were at 97% earlier this week. It fluctuates a little bit as it goes up and down. But yeah, right now they're at 92% participation. They have a Olumo score of a 90, off the chart. You can see that we benchmark across other organizations and they're 8 above the average organization within their industry and size. I love this one. Look at this amazing eNPS score. They've got a 68 currently. And again, these things fluctuate, but we're gathering consistent data. This is based on their last 20 responses you can see here that we're pulling this number. And so these things can fluctuate. And if you click into them, it'll show you the history and how they're doing and tracking along there. But what they've done is then gone into the platform, identified the key aspects that are most important to them. They're running an alignment campaign. They're learning about the benefits and the impact. We have a benefits assessment that, as you look to renew your benefits, well, let's understand how and what benefits are most important to our people. You can activate that campaign and kick that off. DE&I, that's another big one that organizations are looking at is, hey, we know that we need to take actions. We need to drive these. But again, if you don't have a needle, you go out and do a lot of things, new training, new education. Well, did it make a difference? Are you doing the right things? Our data will help identify and answer those questions for you. So all of these different campaigns that you can activate and turn on. One of my favorites is, of course, the new hire and termination, because I get to measure that experience as they first come in the door and also as they exit the organization. So throughout the entire life cycle, we're measuring that. The other one that's brand new and they haven't even activated it yet is this operational efficiency. If you want to identify the gaps in your operational aspects of your organization, turn on our operational efficiency campaign, and that will immediately identify those. I love that one because those usually have such a major impact on the bottom line. And frankly, it's your people at the front line of the organization that are in the best position to help you understand where those gaps are. So if we can now just create a consistent and ongoing feedback loop to gather that insight in a place where they know and they trust it, that's a big piece, is trusting it. Well, then now we've created real magic. So you turn on the active campaigns, and again, you can also create your own. So if there's metrics and different aspects of things that work hand in hand with you, we don't just give you a bunch of data and hope you figure it out. That's the other thing. So many of our organizations that I've seen that have like a survey platform or something, hey, you sign up, it's just a SaaS product, good luck, here's our product. Well, we're here to help you. We're here to look at the data with you, assess and identify and come up with different ideas. Our strategic analytics advisors are amazing at helping you drive and come up with thoughts and ideas of how to address the things that we're seeing in the data. So again, we're here to help you all the way through the process. It's probably, when I talk to our clients, those strategic advisor meetings are probably one of their most favorite aspects that they tell me about the platform, is having someone to go through and help them look at and identify different areas and ideas has been just like gold to them. Well, again, this creates for this organization their live heat map. So let me pull over to here and let's show you that. I'm going to expand the heat map here to show you, look, their admin team crushing it, stack ranked, admin, client services, creative services. But we're struggling the most in our creative services team. Here's one number that I wanted to point out to you. Look at this number. When we see team scores low and we see leadership scores low, we can immediately identify that, look, we likely have an issue here within this team, of course, and within this leader. It helps you to identify, not so that we can go fire this person on the creative services leader, but so that we can get them the help and the resources that they need to improve. Because once those are the two most critical touch points, the relationship I have with my direct leader or manager and the relationship that I have with my team are the two most critical aspects of my overall experience. And once those are low, everything else ends up low. Are they having a worse experience with DE&I than the admin team? Of course not. But they're having a worse experience in general, which is then tainting the other metrics. And that's where this is so helpful, is to identify the teams, the locations, the departments. You can sort this data, turn on the filters, and quantify it in all kinds of different ways. Whatever you're looking for, ways to sort this data, now you can do that. But the real thing is now you know where the issues are. Well, let's come over here and let's start taking a look at the conversations. And let's engage in some of these conversations to learn and listen about that experience that they're having so that we can drive the organization forward. And that's what I love to see here is, just engagement after engagement of these conversations. Look, they're writing this one, man, that's a small novel that they've written. You don't write that unless you know and understand that somebody's listening on the other side. And that's where you can see, hey, I think we need, what's the one thing to improve your job? Hiring more people and structuring the team better. Great. What kind of structure would you recommend? Boom. Answer and point. That's what they're sharing with you. And that power of active listening is absolutely phenomenal. So in general, and I'll close up here and then see if there's any questions in chat. I apologize, I'm on my own today. Usually I have someone help me with these, but I'll see if there's any questions. So if you have any questions, add those into the chat. But I'll just summarize with this. Driving your organization, the key to driving any organization, it all comes down to people. And the one thing that every organization has not had was good access to live sentiment data. Live insights, not just the data though, not just numbers, but the understanding of the why behind the numbers. And that comes through our conversations, not surveys approach. As we consistently, actively engage with your people, helping them to feel listened to, helping them to feel heard, and creating that engagement that drives your end business results. Our goal is to help you find those predictive indicators of your success. That's what we do as an organization. We identify the predictive indicators, help you identify those so that then you can drive your specific goals and objectives. Now, every company, their goals and objectives are different. Yours will be unique to you. That's why our strategic analytics advisors will sit down with you and help implement the platform to identify the right data and the right metrics. Now, do we get it right every single time? Of course not. It's an iterative process, right? We work with you to identify and start to, but within just a few months, typically, we can dial that thing right in to identify exactly what's most important and what's going to move the needle and to help you know what actions you need to take. That's the power of the platform. So let me hop over, see if there's any questions here that I can help answer. I can get onto my right screen here, go into the chat and Q&A. All right, well, I don't see any questions that are in there. I want to thank you so much for taking time. If you'd like to reach out and schedule something directly with me, then just send me an email to robert@olumo, OLUMO.com. Send me that email and let's have a conversation. Let's talk about your organization, where your struggles are, what your objectives are, what you're trying to accomplish, and then we'll figure out what data we need and what insights we need to help you to get there. Because literally our platform is plug and play. You can launch this thing within 24 hours. We grab from your HRIS company, we connect to that and pull the data. You can give us a file. But bottom line, you walk through, identify the core components, we identify what we want to measure and track, we launch it, and immediately within 24 to 48 hours, we'll have all the data we need to help you solve your problems. There's no need to struggle without the insights because we can deliver it to you that quickly. So thank you again so much for all of your time. I hope that you have really been able to gather the sense and the understanding of how powerful sentiment data is and how it really drives your business results and how we could help you. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again soon. Again, robert@olumo.com. Send me an email, or you can also connect to me on LinkedIn, and we can schedule a time to get back together. Thank you so much. Talk soon.